and just volume down.
Well, find me the volume.
That's kind of boring. Let me get something.
Thank you.
Okay. So what do I do here?
Go close.
Oh, hey, am I live? Okay, so welcome to the 24-hour build for MarKo custom build models. So we're about 15 minutes early to go into the build, and I just want to go over what we're going to use, what we're going to do, and then we'll get into building. So, anybody on there? Not yet. All right. Comments. So if you have anything you want to say, please do so. All right, so the model that we're building today for the 24-hour build, if you haven't seen yet, will be the 65 Chevy Nova 2 gas. This is the last year of this body style before they went to the more squared off body style. And this is sort of the only year with they changed location of signal lights in the bumper, things like that. 64 back to 62 have a lot more similarities. So taillights, things are different. Mobius also did release a 64 Super Sport, which there'll be an unboxing of this on my channel coming up. But I took the opportunity to look at some differences between the hardtop 64 that they released and the post 65. Is that on a post car you have it's a sedan. When you open the door, you'll have a door frame that comes open with the door and a small window in the back here. This has a different C-pillar feature on the car. And on a hardtop, when all the windows are down, you don't have a B-pillar here. Up in a sedan is, if you don't know that. So this is dressed up as an SS car. It has all the SS badging as well as some chrome down the side and trim. On the back end, these panels are removable, so you could swap them, but the front end is a little more difficult if you wanted to change these around, and I'll show you that. So these are the taillights, 62 to 64, and then this 65 taillight, and then of course 66 went to a different body style. Again, on the front of this car, you'll see that there's a difference. There's a notch in the fender on the 64 to 2, and then the 65 does not have a notch in the side. The signal lights, there was a chrome feature below the headlight and the grille that had the signal lights on the old, and then on this one, the signal lights went into the front bumper. As you see here, the signal lights are in the bumper there, if you can see that. Also, the model is made quite different. In the 64, you'll see there's it's open here. The inner fender well is designed to go right up to the fender, and on the rad support, it's smooth. On the race car version, the 65, they actually put a little radiator cap and a notch out in the radiator support for that, so that's different. Also, you can see here there is a panel that sort of comes down on the fender. You could easily trim that out if you wanted to use this and turn it into a regular car and use parts of the 64, the full inner fender system, and you could easily fix that. But it'd be a little harder to go take this one and go the other way. You don't have to do those side pieces under the hood or the radiator cap, but just that little notch in the fender would be a little bit more difficult if you wanted to play with that. Anyway, other than that, that's the difference between 64 and 5, the Mobius models. One of the things I wanted to point out too, I mentioned that I was, when I unboxed this, I kind of glued this firewall to the floor. So to be fair, I'm going to make that happen on this one for the build, so that at least the time is taken away and it's not like I'm getting ahead by gluing pieces together already. So I'll do that. One of the things I was looking at, since you're allowed to look at, is on the tree here. We have the front frame rail section. And it's a unibody car, so this is usually welded into the into the Nova. Actually, sorry, these ones on bolt, I think, on the front of the Novas, because you can buy a whole clip that bolts on. And that's what this represents. It has roll bars instead of inner fender wells. But there's, when they mold this, there's a hollow point in the top here. And I'm going to take some styrene and I'm going to go in and fill that in so that when you see it, because everything's open, you don't see a void there. It's going to be completely flat. So that's one of the modifications I want to do. Just get rid of little imperfections. It just something makes it fun. But of course, it also adds to time on the build. We have anybody watching yet? No. So, okay, we are how many minutes? 9 minutes away from the start. One of the things I can mention is Facebook. Yes, if you want to watch, there's a Facebook group. I think you have to join the group though. But if you join that group, you'll be able to actually watch other people. They post photos and updates, and I'll try to post photos to that group as well. Also, there's Bellagio paint. This is was given to me by a friend of mine. It's about $17 Canadian. It's at Hobby Wholesale. This they show the color of the paint on this little plastic thing here, so they make a lot of military colors. I did a little bit of test spraying with this, and I really like how it's sprayed out. It's very smooth. It's almost self-leveling. Didn't even prep that, and other paint seems to stick to it quite well. I tried some different colors on here, and I don't have action, so I just wanted to do that test because I don't want to have a paint problem like I did last year on that 63 Corvette that I did. Color, I got this paint. It's an automotive spray paint that's mixed up at your local auto body supply place. I really like this paint. It dries quick. You can also you can get it custom made to any color you want. This color I did a 57 Chevy last year in my garage, and this paint was sort of touch it up. When he had the engine bay painted, he had some cans mixed up, and I have to use it also to paint some other parts for his car. So I'm just going to check. Did you want to check volume? My audio is good on another computer. Okay. Is everybody hearing me okay in there? If you want to give a comment or feedback, just want to make sure audio is good. Should have done that in the beginning. Anyway, what else can I talk about? Yes, I want to make the model also. I'm going to use some different styrene products to fill in things I don't want, or this will become an axle tube for the front. What I want to do is make the model metal axle like this here. So there's an axle that goes all the way through, attaches the wheels. This is a 67 Mustang by AMT, and they don't come steel axle. They're sort of plastic pins, and then you have an insert, but the wheels are kind of wobbly, and this way the wheels look nice and straight. Model looks good. So I do that to everything I build, and I try to. So that's one of the other modifications that are going to be done on the model here. I can actually flip this down and see what it looks like. So I might turn this so you guys can watch what I'm doing. Okay. Oh, I see what's going on here. I'm just going to move this over so there's not the camera's more clear. There we go. There was sort of a gray line on top. Sorry about that. Flip that down. Okay, so you'll be able to see me working on things. This is the floor pan here. This is the one out of the 64. They're basically identical. The pieces are the same. If you flip them over, there's holes and stuff that you actually use. You can drill out for different things on the model. As you can see, points here. One thing I do notice here that I'd like to fill in is if you take your rear seat section and you set it there, is that you can actually see This is not a seat, actually. This is just sort of a metal pen. I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but there's little points here where you will see that sink or hole in there, and I want to fill that in with plastic so that you don't see that when it's all painted. I'm also planning on painting the floor pan, this pan, green, just like the car, as well as the inside of the firewall and roll cage. Same color, only because of the top and bottom, because these are actually metal parts on the door. And then between this line and this line, I plan on taping that off, and this will be sprayed in an aluminum color to look like sort of an aluminum panel. So that's the plan with the interior. The seats are probably just going to go black, which seats are still on the tree. Everything's mostly still on the tree here. The chrome, I did de-chrome the pieces, like the grill and all of that. I took all the chrome off. That's going to be painted like I've done on other builds. So how many? 3 minutes left? Okay, 3 minutes to building time. I want to thank, I did a little video yesterday, if you haven't seen it, and they talk about the oil pan being installed wrong. Now I do want to point out that most Chevy small blocks, the oil pan is rear sump. So on here, they actually have the oil pan on backwards here. Okay. Yeah. You said it? Yeah, so William Wegeman, I want to thank him for that. So if you see here, the oil pan is on backwards for Chevy. They're usually all rear sump, but I do want to point out this oil pan does have a center dip with a front part that's lower. That is correct for a Chevy too, but they do have it backwards. So you have to trim this off because that's where the oil filter goes, and then re-glue it onto the block, but we'll go through that. We can also put a different color pan on this car. Being a gasser, there's a lot of clearance on that front axle, so you don't have to worry so much about oil pan location. As you can see here, they have the oil pan on backwards and it still clears on the kit. But that is one thing I want to point out to you. So thank you for mentioning that. Something I probably would have noticed when I was putting it together, but you know, the heads up on that is always good. Very good. So there's also some mention of the drag link, which is the steering bar that goes from the front suspension to the steering box. This is called a drag link here. Apparently that is too long or has a fitment issue, so we'll find out when we get there. Okay. So we're down to the final minute to be able to start the build. I want to sand the ridge off top of these panels. I want to get stuff ready for paint sort of as soon as possible. And we are almost ready. Are you guys in the audience ready? That's the question. Oh, also I want to point out too, Mobius wheels. We are 11, we can officially start building. So you know what, I'll point this out when I make a first glue joint here. So first thing I want to do is glue this firewall onto the floor pan. If you notice here, there's quite a bit of a block of plastic in where you want to glue it. So I'm going to trim that out. If you have any questions, they'll be brought to my attention and then I can answer them. So I'm pretty good at talking and building at the same time. So you always want to test fit your parts before you glue them together. Make life a lot easier. And then I also want to test fit the side panel to make sure that that's at the right angle there. The way this fits together is very good. So I don't need to use the side panel as a guide when I glue it. Also, I use Plastic Magic glue. It's a liquid glue. I've done a video on this on my channel if you want to go back and check it out, but I love this product. It's fantastic. I'm not even sponsored by them, but Plastic Magic, if you're watching, I would gladly take a sponsorship. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and glue it. This thing just practically falls into place. So if you notice, I use quite a bit of the liquid glue on a joint like this. It really helps bond it. What it does is it's like a solvent. It melts the plastic and then basically welds it. So it's a very good, strong joint. And what I can do is push it together. And then if there's any imperfections, it will actually sort of work around that. Or Tamiya glue kind of does the same thing. If you've ever worked with Tamiya liquid glue, it's really changed what I can do when I'm modeling. So I really quite enjoy it. There we go. So that can sit into place and dry. I'm just going to double check with the side panel that that fitment is really good in there, and it is. Now I want to go ahead and I want to fill these holes here, as I talked about, for how the back seat fits, or back panel in this model. You see a little bit of the holes there. These holes are not needed. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to use a drill bit that's the same size as the plastic that I'm going to insert there, and I'm just going to drill it out a little bit. It's a little bit different size. So that one I went all the way through. That's okay. Fix that. Okay. All right. Then I go ahead, trim that flat. What I do is actually just dip that right in the glue there. Okay. Trim it off. And then what I do when that dries, it'll give me time. I'll go ahead and bring those back down to being flat. I'll start working on that front subframe while that's happening. Yeah, this one went all the way through, so I actually want to do that. Trim it off both sides here. Okay. Flatten it out, you won't even see it. Anybody who's watching, I want to say thank you for coming. This is kind of fun having the support. Okay. I'll take a little bit of the plastic mag. Okay. Take my hobby knife, I give those just a little bit of a push in there. There we go. And we'll come back to that. Firewall is still in good shape. Give that a trim. Okay. Put that aside there, let that dry a little bit. And I will be working on that front subframe section and rear differential. Trim that out. Okay. And front subframe. Then I want to also, there's a cross member that goes in there. Check that out. reason I'm checking the cross member, I want to see what I should do to glue all this in here. So what I can do is I think I'll just glue, excuse me, all the way across here. I'll put this piece in here and then I will trim that to fit. So I'm just gonna go ahead and find out how long I'm gonna make that, roughly. Okay. I do want to point out this is actually 4 layers of really thin styrene here. I don't know the exact thickness, but I've glued 4 layers together to get the right thickness. I did that ahead of time because that wouldn't hurt. Just to know that piece will fit in there. Okay. A little bit of a trim out there. Take a little bit more off. Just a little bit off here. Okay. And then I know that I don't need the full width. So the whole idea here is I get both sides out of this one piece. Just gonna go ahead and trim that in half. Okay. There's a little bit of a. Oh, okay. Oh, hi, Robert. Let's see, somebody said hi. And Steve, I think, said hi. Steve, yeah. Glad you could join. So if you see what I did, I just made a little notch here. I'll do the same on the other side. That's a nice tight fit, but when I put that glue on, it's going to make it soft and it'll flow together and it'll fit right in there. So I'll go ahead and I'll fill that gap here. Robert says great model, and so that's, thank you for that. Then I just push that together. Push it back a bit. What I like about this glue, you can work with it, not like super glue where it hardens on you and then it's over, it's game over. Okay. So there we go. We'll let that sit, and then I can go ahead and trim that off when that dries. So I'll do the same on the other side here. I'll check here. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on top here. Okay.
Hoping your build turns out even better than last year. That wasn't perfect over 24 hours. I'd say it turned out really well. Steve.
Oh yeah, thanks Steve for that. No, the vet, yeah, last year was, I mean, it still turned out beautiful other than the paint, and that's not a big deal. Not a big deal. See, this piece broke on me, but we'll get that in there. If I could just build it out of the box, it'd be so much easier instead of doing these little tweaks I like to do. Actually, wouldn't waste so much time. Like the vent last year, if I just would have built it with the stock engine instead of trying to fit another one in. But hey, that's the fun of it, right? You want to have some fun with it. So that's what modeling is all about. And you kind of want to, like, even though it's 24 hours, I want to build something that I'd want to have, like, on the shelf. So it's not like I'm just sort of throwing something together for the sake of throwing it together, but and then look at the first year I did that GTX at Plymouth. That turned out absolutely beautiful, actually. What's that? Well, I would have made it 24 hours if I would have woke up a half an hour sooner.
Inspired me to get back into this. Used to love it, hanging in hobby stores with paints and such as Casey.
Yeah, Casey just made a comment about loving this hobby and hanging out in hobby stores and looking at paint. You know what? That's a big fun of the hobby, and get back into it. Don't be too fussy. Just don't be like me. Just get it done. Sometimes I'll work on a model on and off for 2 years. Because I get something, I get an idea, and then that idea worked, and then it's like, well, I want to, figure out how to do this before I do it so it gets done right. So yeah, sometimes, and I still haven't set up a spray booth, so I'm kind of painting in a cardboard box still and rattle cans. So I do have an airbrush I'd like to try out, and that would be, I got everything set up. I'm starting to work on getting that done in the basement here. Once that happens, then I can start doing some of that. That's interesting. This Mobius plastic that they use, I have to say, is kind of an interesting plastic. It's not really what I'm used to. It seems to stress crack quite easily. So when you're... Oh, big shout out to Andrea. Yeah. Thanks for joining. Yeah. So we'll let that dry. Okay. Now, see, these are pretty much dry. I can take my snips and level these off. And then a little bit of a sanding board. There still might be a little bit soft. Let them harden a little more. Not glue. Actually, use my little Dremel. And just kind of level it off there. Okay. A little bit of sandpaper. There we go. Now you'll notice when you put this panel in here, those pieces there are now completely covered, right? You won't see little holes in that. So there you go. So this panel can almost be glued in, but I do want to try a couple other things here. Okay, I'm watching here. Got 10 on there watching, so thanks to everybody that's watching. This is great.
paint everything separately before gluing or after?
Casey asked me if I glue everything together or paint first. I actually glue most everything together before paint, depending on colors. For instance, I can just show you the 67 Mustang. This is ready for paint. It looks like it's mostly together, but you know, everything will come apart. The wheels will come off. The chassis drops out of the bottom here. So the body, of course, can be sprayed. I can tape do the interior, then put the seats in, the dash, detail it all separate. The axle I use to actually hold the engine in, so that can all be taken out, spray the engine, paint it all. And so that's how I do it. That's pretty much how far you'll see it. In some cases, you know, you might leave the headers off or certain things off, or the front fan blade accessories, depending on how you want to paint it and what color you want to paint it. So that's how I do those. Sometimes, depending if you want the suspension to be a different color and have overspray or like body color on the floor pan, then of course you wouldn't glue your rear suspension in. You would leave that out until that's done. But that would have all the suspension springs glued on together. If you want to paint the springs a different colors, I'll usually pick them off maybe with a brush after. So let's take off some of the flash here. So now we're going to start getting some things glued together on the interior pan. Part of me is wondering, I thought about changing out this fuel tank, putting in this fuel cell, like cutting this off, putting in a flat plate, putting this fuel cell on. Because unlikely this car would have a stock fuel tank in it. But that's also a bit of time, so maybe I'll just avoid that on this kit. I thought about it, but I think we'll just get going putting this together. So this is the rear seat section, or rear pan section would be the seat section in the sedan. I'm going to glue this in. I'm going to glue the roll cage together in here because all of this will be painted that blue color, and then the panels will have to be painted a different color, or there's some different coloring going on them, and then they'll be glued into place. So there are some pieces that will be glued separate and some that will be pre-glued. So right now I'm going to start working on that. Actually, the first thing I want to do is get this body, because I want to get it ready for paint. I'm going to glue this panel in. This rear panel sits in the car separate here, like this. So at first I thought about turning this back into a 64 and that, because I like the tail lights better, I think, but I'm just going to go ahead and do this. So I'm just going to start getting this stuff together so that it can be painted. I want to get the body painted earlier this year, because that seems to be the thing that takes the longest to deal with. Okay, so I'll let that dry. Oh, and there's a front piece too I want to put in. This front piece here fits in here really nice on the body. So I'll just get that going in. There's a chance if you're building a gasser, you would actually eliminate this just because you would maybe not have a front bumper on it. Depending on what you're building. For instance, this model, I'm not going to put the wiper blades on it, but it is sort of like a street strip car. So I'm not putting wheelie bars. It's kind of like what if you had it and you're going out to cruise night, that kind of thing. So that's, you know, take it out to the track once in a while. That's the whole idea behind this build.
I'm going to have to go for a bit shortly, but I did share the live stream a few pages for you. I'll be back to watch. Steve.
Okay. Well, thanks, Steve. If you got to head out, let's. And then these door handles. The model does come, and I noticed that even with the other model, they come with couple of sets. I think I'm going to try and work with these ones. This one is already cracked, very fragile. I miss the days where the door handles were molded in. I know that I know it's more detail this way, but it's so finicky. So what I did here was I'll take some sandpaper and just kind of clean off. There's some flashing on there. I'll do that before I trim it off so that it looks better. And then I will try and get these off without breaking them. They're so fragile. Like I said, I don't know the plastic that they use on this model. It seems to be quite brittle. Okay, there's not much to hold on to. I'm going to glue these onto the car now, and then I'll clean them up a bit. Get to it. I actually quite like gassers, but I also like a lot of old cars, but I'm doing a real gasser in my life, so it's kind of a thing to put together. Well, the car that I'm building as a gasser is a 1956 Pontiac Canadian car. Yeah, so it's like a Chevy, and it's kind of been a project that unfortunately has been on hold. Been buying parts, and hopefully this summer get a lot done to it. I'd like to get it finished and on the road. That car I'm building more as a cruise night car, and then see that handle's broken, and then take it out to the track once in a while, run it. And one of those things, that handle's broken too. These handles, why they don't just mold them in? Anyway, people want to fuss about and put handles on, then they can shave them off. I'm not a fan of these. Certain things are just too fragile on a model. That's why I glue them on, not chrome, because you can do all this work to it, fix it, and then it's easy enough to pick off, make them look good. See, that one's broken. See that? I didn't even put any stress on it, just trimming it. I find that, I don't know, you can comment on that. 3D printed parts, they're very fragile. They're like working with glass. Not a fan. I like the plastic that AMT used. Sort of just before round 2, it was all that gray plastic. Very nice to work with. At least I think so. So, go ahead and add a little bit extra glue there to the handle. Okay. All right, because I'm not putting wipers on this model, I'm going to drill the holes here where the wipers would go as if they weren't in. Sort of drill it through the body here. Might be a bit big. What's that? Yeah. Okay. Anybody have any questions they want to? Keep me talking more dialogue. Sorry if I'm not talking much. This door handle is taking up a lot of time. Gotta make sure it dries straight, otherwise it'll look funny. Okay. All right, I can set that down and move on. Put this rear pan in. When? So somebody was just asking when I started modeling. I've been dabbling in this. My older brothers used to like doing models, or still do actually. So as long as I can, 5 years old, and I remember one time sneaking in, they were doing a model for a contest. It was a 57 Chevy Nomad that was by Revell, and that kit they were building for a contest, and I kind of felt left out or something, and I went in and I glued the back seat onto the roof of the car. And they were so upset, but anyway, they ended up turning it into an El Camino, and it made them do something completely different, and it turned out really good for them. So they still have that model, but I remember that, and I remember just wanting models and stuff when I was a kid. But my parents were not so supportive of it. Actually, they always felt like I was wasting my time. But I did get into a model club back when I was about 10 years old, IPMS Edmonton, and I've been going to those meetings ever since. And yeah, my 5-year-old's going to glue something to one of my kits one day too. I'm sure I'm going to get it all paid back to me. So yeah, I'm just test fitting these side panels so that this rear panel glues in nice and straight without any issues. So all you want to do is just make sure test fitting is very important, very key. There we go. Glue there, perfect. What you can do, I love these little clamps. You can put them there and that'll hold everything in place. Okay.
Do you ever leave links to the tools, paints, glues, etc. you use that? Can you look specific?
Yeah, I do leave links to the glue. Paints, yeah, if I used to use like Tamiya water-based. Of course, when I started modeling, everything was testers, oil-based stuff. I really liked the Villaggio stuff. A lot of it's military. Like this is military green. Here's black. I just really enjoy how thin these paints are. They go on really nice. These are almost a direct to airbrush, I think, but you can use them with a brush too. And I just really like how these colors, like the silvers and stuff, that you don't get brush strokes and stuff in them. I find Tamiya dries very fast, and then the paint starts to ball up if you're brushing it on something. So I found that I like that. As far as tools and things I use, I've had these tools for years. So as an example, these Canadian Automotive in Edmonton years ago, and I cannot find these again. Yeah, my friend bought some of these, but they're so stiff that they actually put too much pressure on the model. So I've had these clamps for 15 years. Maybe even longer, and that's kind of, I don't know I can't find them to put a link anywhere. Sometimes I use this quick grip tool. These are fantastic. Yeah, clothespins are good, but yeah, I try to leave anything that I use in the description for sure, so that you can do the same thing or use the same product. So now I'll get the roll bar out. It's kind of the next thing on here. One piece. Pieces there. That's the front. These are the rears. Actually, gotta tidy up the desk here. Let me just move a lot of this stuff that I'm not using right now off to the side. Okay, so just checking the subframe here. Fitment of that. So there we go, that'll be good. This is the roll bar here. Okay, I'm just gonna sand and trim. These are fantastic. These are like nail files. They work, they're like on a cardboard sanding board. They're great for cleaning up any sort of sprue that's left on here. You can use a knife. I use a knife initially, usually to trim it. Sometimes like these plastics, like I said, it's kind of brittle, so your knife will kind of pull into it. So in some of these scenarios, you just want to sand that off. Okay. Go, here we go, and just a little bit of sand it up. Then I use, so I don't even remember the grit of this, 320 I think it is, wet dry, and then I'll hit parts like this, just kind of take off any high points. Oh, yeah, Michael should not be playing with those. The best thing you could do is put everything back in the cabinet and close it up. Okay. So these rear roll bar pieces, I gotta do the same, clean them up. Okay. 1 and 2. All right. They're nice and cleaned up there. Get some glue on here. Probably take these clamps off now. Okay, I'm going to glue on the roll bar here. That's okay. Just tack it into place. And then I can put these rear bars in. Put that in by checking. Maybe it goes that way. So I can put it into place, and then a little bit of a brush there. If you wanted to paint this roll bar a separate color, what I would do is just sort of assemble it without gluing it to the body. Just kind of hold it in place and glue the joints together. And then you probably could remove it in one piece. And then you could paint that a separate color and then put it in after if you wanted to, but I'm going to keep it simple. Just do that there. What I like about this glue too is because there's no glue to it, it's just a solvent. It evaporates And any glue that on here, you don't see it. It doesn't become an extra add-on. So you can use it quite. You can use quite a bit of it. It turns out good. So I'm just dry test fitting that. I have to actually clean the screw joints off. I'm gonna just add more glue to here because I'm very happy with how that's sitting. And I'm gonna just take this here and clean up these two forward bars. Hang on a second here. It's right there. Make sure you sprays it in the box. Okay. Okay. One side's all done. That fits in the hole here in the roll bar and on the ground. Might be a left and a right here. See what side I like the way it fits better. Okay. We will just glue that side in and then do the next one. I'm gonna find my brush. Okay. Just want to make sure that fits there and then glue there. Okay, on to the other side. Just sand that up there. So you got all the Tamiya stuff, the good stuff. He's allowed to do that. Losing watchers. That's okay. This isn't the most exciting thing happening right now. I understand that. So. My wife was asking what's the first model that I did. And I never really had, I played a lot with like ones that were already built in pieces. So I think I have to say the 57 Chevy by AMT was probably one of my firsts. And so it's kind of one of my favorites. So it's nice that they're still releasing that model. I'm trying to think. I did a lot of stuff from parts, so it was kind of a lot of fun, a lot of kit bashing back then. Still do it today, actually, a lot of kit bashing. Sometimes I enjoy building a model like restoring a model that's already been built over starting with a new one because of that. I have appreciation for it too. You can sometimes get some really good stuff for very little money. So you might want to just wash his hands with that stuff. inside the model here. Just want to check to see that the side panels still fit. And they do. They fit really nice. So you can see that'd be really hard to paint any sort of detail. These have to be painted separate for what I want to do. So all this will be body color, and then everything else will be painted and dropped in here. Two things about the model. One is the wipers. There's a wiper motor that can go on here. Obviously, if I'm not running the wipers, I probably don't need the wiper motor. So I'm going to drill and fill that hole. And the other thing is this wiper, the heater motor. Why would you have a heater in a race car? So I'm going to pop that out. Even though on cold days here in Edmonton, Alberta, and you're driving, like even in the summertime, there's cold evenings. Maybe I'll leave the wiper motor because this is a street and strip car. We'll just lose the wipers. How about that? Okay, so car, you may want to take the heater motor off as well. So who's that?
One of the gamers.
Okay. Hey, yeah. Oh, hey, Russell. Let's see, you made a comment there. Thanks for watching. And hi, Ruthie, as well. You just joined. I think I made those holes a bit big, but I can fix that. And welcome to everybody who's watching or you. So,
No need for a heater down here in Texas.
yeah, Texas, would be nice, wouldn't it? Even in the summertime when I drive my cars up and down White Ave or Jasper Avenue, and it like the sun goes down, you want the heater. Because, usually you're cruising windows down anyway. So, mind you, we had a pretty hot summer this last summer. I think there was times I wish I had air conditioning even at night. We had a pretty warm summer. At least some warm summer nights. So as you can see, I glued those pieces in here. Now I got to work on cleaning this up. So I'm just going to take my knife and cut my thumb open in the process. No, I'm just kidding. We're just going to clean this up here.
One of the most interesting things about you is that you can do both macaroni and maize. You have the skills to make large builds and then micro builds.
Yeah, somebody just commented on me about how I can do both full-size cars and little cars. It's kind of funny. I bring my knowledge from full-size cars into the small-scale hobby of how things should actually look, which can actually almost kill you because everything is wrong sometimes, Then you get really fussy, and then it takes the fun out of it sometimes. The full-size stuff, I use my little hobby to dream about what I'd like to build in real life. So it's a way of I use one with the other. I enjoy both hobbies very much. I know some people that say, they used to build models. Of course, now they're into real cars and they don't even touch them anymore. It's sad because that's the dream, right? I can build a dream in my hand, and then maybe I can build that dream in real life. So it's kind of a way to be creative without, buying a $20,000 car, right? And then maybe one day I'll have that car, and then I can look at the model and say, yeah, that's how I'm actually going to build that car. So that's if you said to me I had to pick one and not do the other, that'd be a very hard decision. Of course, I like driving, so I guess the real cars would win on that one, but something about this is just so, for me, it's very relaxing. You can have a hard day and you can I don't find this frustrating. I just kind of enjoy it. So that's how I feel about that. And of course, my attention to detail in the little scale is really hard when you're doing a real car, because I try to bring that attention to detail into a build, and sometimes that can be quite a lot of work.
Appreciate the commentary. Thank you for expounding on your switch between too busy and MarKo. I received it.
Yeah. It's like when you're doing the model and you realize, like, when you're doing wiring, let's say you want to wire the engine, you know, I know what the firing order should be. And sometimes the distributor is so small, and, you know, working with that, it's hard to, you almost just want to put all 8 wires in a little, just glue them all together. And, you know, it's hard sometimes. It's hard also finding the right scale of stuff. Like, I find a lot of spark plug wiring that they sell is too big and thread is too small, and so it's and that's the fun of it too, is finding what you want to find to get the look you want to look, or to have the look to get the end result that you want or that you envision, and then you can share that with other people. It's quite fun as well. So you see what I did there was I filled in the top here where there's that void, so that when you paint this, it looks like metal, all like a solid tube, like it would be in real life. Yes, that knowledge of knowing what is on a real car, and then it drives you nuts on the small scale right there. That's that. A lot of guys would just build it. It's okay. A Peterbilt? Oh, like a real one? Or I like big trucks too. I did that C50, and I always wanted to build a hot rod Peterbilt myself, but I'm not in the position to build that on my driveway. But I did do a concept. There. This is just sort of something I threw together. Just some model parts to kind of get a concept of what I'd like to build in real life. This is a 12V71. I don't think I'll ever have that. I think I'd just do it with like a Caterpillar inline 6 or something. And I think I'd build it a little bit shorter in the front end. But anyway, that's how what I use my models for, is to build the dream like this. And one day I'd like to put that into reality. And that's what the other channel's for. Maybe I can build that truck one day. Maybe that, you know, can become a reality. Okay. Okay, that's getting there. These are the shock mounts here. That's for the front. Got to work around those. There we go. Now I'm just going to sand out some of the lines in here on the inside. Okay, now I can add the cross member. This is the cross member that holds the engine cradle. Now, of course, because of my modification, I have to cut a little bit off, but that's okay. I can do that. Just cut a little bit off at a time. You can always trim more off, but it's harder to add more on. Just a little more. I think I'm going to do that by sanding it because I don't want to take too much off. This is actually, I built a sanding board for this. It's a fantastic board. This has got like 200 grit woodworking sandpaper glued to a piece of Baltic birch plywood. And it's very easy to sand things nice and flat. There we go. Now that fits in there. Looks good. Let's do a little bit of a trim here behind the mount. Once I get it together, you won't be able to really fix anything like this anymore. Okay, trim some of the stuff on the mount off here. Trim. Okay. These are little tips and tricks that if you're building for a model contest, these are the kind of things that make or break the model. These little details that I'm doing here. So. Okay, how's that interior coming there? That looks good. Okay, so now I can glue this guy right in there. Oh, I can't actually. I have to trim off. I have to do some more trimming that I didn't do. There we go. Back. A little bit of a sand. Go. Any other? One thing I can show you, somebody was asking about the first model I built. I don't have that anymore, but yeah. Don't mind the dust. It's been sitting on my shelf for a long time. I'm, 40 years old now, so I built this Nova when I was 11 years old. And it was the first model I ever entered in a contest. Of course, it's falling apart. This is why sort of steel act, you build a model and it's been around for such a long time. This is a 66 Nova. And there it is. Here it is. Sorry about the dust. I painted it burnt orange. And I did this with a Ralacan from Canadian Tire at the time. And then I used a polishing technique to try and smooth out the paint the best I can. So anyway, there's that. And then the underside, I did like that. And I did this when I was 11 years old. So I'm going to have to sit down and restore this model one day. But anyway, I just thought I'd show you that's a model from a long time ago now. That would be 29 years ago. So yeah, I'll have to fix that up one day. Okay, I'm just going to now glue this front subframe section in here. I'm just doing this so I can get it all ready for paint because this is all going body color, so it can start getting painted almost right away. And I can build the engine in that while this stuff dries. Okay. There we go.
Just wondered, gas from the old lot, is this the big or a small block Chevy?
Small block Chevy in this gasser, by the way. It's yeah, I mean, you know, if you're a model or kit basher, you can put a big block in it. Absolutely, you can put a big block in it. Yeah, small block Chevy, yeah. Stuff that I gotta start gluing together, the halves of the engine. Just get the glue on this and the clamp so it can dry for a little bit. Let's get this engine block together here. Boy, they put a tree right where that joint is. Should have test fit it. Okay, it's all good. I do with this, I put a clamp here to hold it. And then I just do the joints here. Any imperfections will just suck it together. Let that dry. Went for a ride, no big deal. Oh, these clamps, I gotta get two smaller ones. Two smaller clamps will do it better. There we go, 1, 2. Let that sit aside there and dry. Okay. Same with that transmission. Where'd that go? There's differential, same thing. Sometimes I just take and I flat sand all these together so they fit nice, but in this case I'll do that, so I'll show you how that's done. I just sand the transmission flat, the 1/2 on the board, and then just take and sand the other side, same thing. It's really nice flat surfaces when you put them together. You lose your guide pins but sometimes you're better off just aligning it yourself anyway. You align your tail shaft and your front. Make sure everything looks good. Then we add some more glue here in the joints.
From the Facebook page.
Yeah.
What would be your biggest trouble?
Okay, so from Facebook, my wife was saying there's a question on there, what would be my dream model? Well, that's a hard question. I like so many cars. I could narrow it down. I wish they would release, somebody would jump on board and build a nice Metropolitan model kit. I have a promo model from back in the day, but like I wish Mobius or somebody would go on there and build a Metropolitan. The other car that I really enjoy, and I like oddball cars too, right? So Metro's one. The other one is the Ampha car, but I kind of scratch built one already, so I did that dream. It got done. Can you believe that? I got glue on the window. Yeah, so that I would say a 48 Tucker would be a nice model. I'd like, because there's so many things I'd like to, it'd be neat. I know that car, you can't even get one in real life hardly, but it'd be neat to do a custom or something, it'd be neat to play with. And those are some that I would like to see out there. Yeah, that's so. I wish they'd re-release the Chevette because it was my first car I had in real life. So that's kind of, I have a couple of Chevette model kits, but it'd be nice to have more so I could build some custom ones, right? They're kind of very hard to come by. Now, one thing about this, there's two bars that go in here. I'm supposed to drill these holes first. I should have done that before the roll bar, but that's okay. I can do this. Just got to hold it up to some light. I'll find the hole here. And the hole here. Okay, so the front roll bars go in here. And before you put the bars in, there's actually a mount plate that goes to the firewall. Find those here. That's these things right here. Little plate that has 3 bolts on it. And then here's the bars. That'll be the driver's side. The passenger side here. Let's do a dry test fit here and see how that fits.
Josh is asking, what is the glue and what you are using? What kind of glue are you using?
Okay, so the question just came to me, what glue am I using? I'm using Plastic Magic. This is the product here. What I do, it comes in a big bottle like this. It comes with a little brush, for instance. It's not enough glue for what I'm doing. Sometimes you want to use a little brush, that's fine. And what happens, every time you dip this in, you contaminate the bottle. So imagine that whole bottle gets contaminated, kind of becomes at the end. This is just a little Tamiya bottle I got that's clear. I ended up buying a new bottle. I mean, you could use an old paint bottle if you want. As you can see, it gets a little foggy. It's normally crystal clear. And I use this is just an old tester's brush. The glue doesn't affect the plastic on this brush or anything. As you can see, it's like a solvent. So if I put it on my fingers, there's no stickiness to it. It just evaporates. No big deal. And I put it, this is off an old headlight on a car. Modern, shouldn't say old headlight. I mean, new cars use these headlights. Because I work on real cars, I end up with parts like this. This is a metal box that goes around an HID headlight. And you got to buy it with the ballast built in. This is like $120 headlight, but the old one, when you take it out, is garbage. So I removed this aluminum piece and allows this bottle to fit in here so that if I accidentally bump it, it doesn't tip the bottle over. So you don't have glue all over the desk. If this spilt on here, if it got on any parts, it could damage them, right? Like especially excessive glue. So that's why I run it in a separate container. But yeah, other than that, it's the plastic magic that I use. Here's one with glue in it. You can see it's totally clear in there. So that answers that question. So I'm just gonna sand these up here. I'm just gonna take off these imperfections on the bar here. Okay, and these plates, are they inward? So see how they want them on the instructions. Yeah, 1 bolt inward, 2 bolts outward on the flange. Okay, so that's okay. So these little flanges go on here, like so, and then the bar goes in. So get a little bit of glue here. Stick that on there. I'll just install. Install it like so. Same on the other side. Okay. All right, and then install the bar like so. Okay, then I'll do the other side. Sand this one up. I'll take a little bit of this off first. Go. We go where I can set this in there. I can see everything before I glue it. What I like about the glue, if I want to adjust the angle of a part, I can still move it around a little bit. Like that, so they both look the same. See? Allows you to change that. And then what I do now, because the glue is so thin, I don't have to take it apart again. I just take my glue and I run it over the parts, and it'll suck into the back there, to the pin, and it'll set everything in place and dry. Just like that. So on the back side a little bit. And again, just check. I can check if I want to move anything, or I can still manipulate that a little bit, make sure that I have even spacing on the top. So it looks the same left and right. And the bar angles are good. So there you go. There's pretty much the main chassis that has to get painted. I want to fill in the wiper hole, I guess. Should cut a piece of this and put in there. Let's see what I can do there. That long? Been an hour and a half already. Wow. Time flies when you're having fun. It's already an hour and a half in. An hour and 10? Oh, okay. So what I'm doing, I'm just gluing in a piece of plastic, and then I'll just, once that dries, I can shave that flat and sand it out, and probably that little hole there for the wiper motor will be gone. So what I like to do is I just like to double check to make sure everything's drying straight, because with this glue you still have a little bit of time to manipulate it to make it look good if you have to. And we can test fit that right into the body here. I always like to test fit everything, make sure everything fits before you get too far. Okay, so those front pieces engage there, I see. So we're gonna make sure that's kind of in place, okay. Actually take those pins off because I think that's going to cause an issue. Okay, all right, let's try that again. There we go. Oh, that fits nice. Roll cage fits in there good. Door handles are drying on there good. It's nice and straight. Okay. Almost ready for paint. So I decided I'm not going to go ahead and cut this out. That's a lot of time. I'm just going to leave the stock fuel tank, and then that I can leave the stock fuel door and the stock fuel filler. There's a lot of things I don't have to modify, so that's good.
Sorry, I had to go off for a few minutes. Stephen is home with a load on his truck, and I was waiting for him. I had to get some video footage of the truck and trailer. Lucy.
Welcome back, Ruthie. So yeah, there we go. Now I can start doing next things, suspension and engine. And I'll probably get some paint on this, but I'll do paint when I'm not on the live because that's hard to have you follow along with. One of the things on this model that I wanted to point out, this grill, I was just doing some dry fitting here before started. This grill fits in here really nicely. These two bars here, though, that don't really have any support at the end, they're kind of pointless, and they're not there on the real car, so I'm actually just going to remove them because they don't really need to be there. And then that grill still fits in there nice. There's lots to glue to, and then you don't have that body color bar that doesn't go behind the grill. So those are gone.
So he picked up a load in Staley, Alabama, I guess, this morning, which is about 300 miles
Cut off
from the
these
house.
pins.
He's staying here for the night. Tomorrow he will leave on his way to Indiana. That's Lucy again. Stephen's going to Indiana.
We'll have a safe trip to Indiana tomorrow. Truck driving there, Lucy. So that's her husband, Stephen. Yeah, but Stephen's doing the truck driving there. So a shout out there, and they also do videos, right?
Yes. They have
Yeah.
3,200 subscribers or something.
So they got about 3,200 subscribers.
Yes.
Yeah, Big Belly Rebuilds, if you ever want to check them out. Just a shout out to them. They've been very supportive to my channel, always commenting, and I want to appreciation, so thank you. Just trimming up some pieces here. Well, We upload daily. So very cool. Very cool. All right.
I really enjoyed when you were reading the comments to you in the background because you were busy working on the bill to being the most excellent one.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. I'm not. If I was doing this by myself, you wouldn't be this entertained. I would be so focused on what I'm doing that I would forget people are even there. You know. So that's big shout out to my wife for helping me there. Thank you. Another thing I'm going to do is put this steering box in place as it's going to, it can be painted a different color, but I don't want to have to try and glue it in after. I can touch it up with a paintbrush afterwards. That's the plan. So this steering box goes in here. Oh, and again, because I added that plastic, I just have to trim a little bit off. Maybe I should stay live for 24 hours here. This is kind of fun.
So I'm not allowed to go to bed then?
I know. Yeah. Gotta pace myself with some sleep somehow. And it snowed, so I have to go out and shovel sidewalks too at some point. There's like a little bit of,
You could always go to jump inside.
oh, other sidewalks.
I didn't plan the snow. I was hoping for something. That was my-
So that's a little bit. Let's see here. This little steering box seems to be under a bit of pressure, so let me just, hopefully it's not an issue with the rest of it. Everything else seems to be in place, so. This is why it's important to test fit every piece when you build the model, because there's so many chances of something not fitting right, and then you go to glue it in, and
Yes, Rebecca, I think it was great that you were reading the comments and that you were helping Ryan that way. A most excellent wife indeed. Good for you, Ruthie. Well, she does just the same with her husband, so she's awesome too.
yeah. Well, Ruthie, you do the same for Steven, so when you can work together, right?
It's a blessing.
Yeah.
16 people.
It's 16. There we go. 16 people watching. Steering box in place now. Like I said, just had to trim a little bit off the tab because before the tab would actually go into the void here on the chassis. Now I can just hit that with some glue there. And up here on the steering column side, there we go.
Ryan is so talented. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, talented. Well, thank you.
Audio. Street Customs. Say hi.
Oh, hi. I'm going to use my little Dremel here.
Looking good, sir. looking good because
Oh, thank you. It's actually going quite well. Okay, so what I did there, I just used the Dremel to just to fill in this panel here. Just sort of when I glued in a piece of plastic, I just kind of cleaned it up, leveled it off with the Dremel. And go ahead and get a little bit of a fingerprint on there from the glue. Clean that off. Although you won't see that, it's up in the near the roof. Okay. Nice to see everybody out. Thanks for joining. All right, now I get to do the suspension stuff a little bit. And I think I'll glue the master cylinder in later. Here's the front axle for the build. I'm just gonna snip it out of the tree here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna utilize part of it and then put an axle tube in to do the rest of it. So I'm gonna make it so it's steel axle in the front as well as the rear.
So Blue Street Custom says, I'm watching you build while I work on the Fred Henry tribute build for my custom mass truck.
Oh, that's awesome. Is he also building 24 or just like a 24 hour, or is it just building it for yourself? Just, okay.
Blue Street Customs.
Oh yeah, Blue Street Customs was saying that they're working on a tribute build. And I'm just wondering if it's also part of a 24-hour build or if it's just something they're doing.
No, I have too much on the go right now.
Oh, okay.
He's got lots of really great stuff.
Yeah.
Over 1,000 subscribers.
So what I'm going to do is see if I can make this the same width, and then I'm going to try and use these ends. And if not, oh yeah, that's cool. The Super Boss. Huh? Yeah. Cool.
Because at Blue Street Customs, 1.46 subscribers. 1K, over 1K. So congratulations, Blue Street.
Yeah. Congratulations to
Blue Street Customs.
Blue Street Customs for getting over 1,000 subscribers.
1.46.
1.4, so that's good.
Check on this, check on this, that's awesome stuff. Awesome stuff.
Yeah. Check them out. I'm gonna have to check them out too.
You're unsubscribed.
Well, I'm subscribed, but I'm gonna have to watch more videos because sometimes it's hard to get time to watch people's stuff sometimes. Okay, so this is my backup tube that's the correct width. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to try to do something with this, and if it doesn't work, it's no loss. So I'm just going to cut these tabs off here. Again, it's going to go flying.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Just going to cut these off here. Okay. what I'm doing here, I want to make the front with a metal axle. So I'm just going to see if I can utilize the end details. Big deal. So I'm going to drill here. First drill bit. Line it up here and drill through it. So see, I got it centered here. What's the center? Just go down a little bit. Get it centered. It's kind of come in at a. See if I can get that in the middle there. Yeah. Then drill that through. Okay. So you see, I drilled that through here. Make sure it's straight. See if I can make this work. Go through the bigger bits. Drill through there. Okay, let's see if I can do the same on the other one.
This truck is a year time build. I also have the 196 Cutty Shark ship I'm working on right now. I just finished the Tyrone Willows pop truck. I'm editing that video right away. On Feb 5th, I'm going in on the Master GB. So just build.
Yeah, okay. That's cool. That Tyrone Malone kit is cool. I got both versions here, and the truck and the hideout truck, the popper truck and the. One day I got to do those too. I'll have to check out your build, see how that turned out.
Yes, as I do, I see.
Okay, let's see if I can not mess this up too bad. Okay, now as you can see, I got ends of the axle drilled. Now I just have to take this tube and use a file. Grab the file. Get a half round. What is it? There it is. Okay, I'm just gonna file this tube so it has a shape to it. Okay. Same on the other side. Make sure they line up.
Oh, just so you know, if you don't, my name is Mark. Do you have a shop card? I can send you one if you want one in mine. That's what I get from MarKo Used Truck Systems.
Shopping cart.
Shop card.
Oh, shop cart.
Like this.
Oh, shop cart. Yeah,
Absolutely.
pretty cool. Okay. If anybody doesn't know, my first name is Roy. MarKo's my last name. Okay, I'm just going to get a brush here. I have a business card here. I can send the same thing back. Test piece to kind of set if I got it right. Hmm?
Hour and 32 minutes in the build, right?
Yeah, well,
Awesome.
yeah, hour in, over an hour in, right? Hour and a half. Time flies.
Very cool.
So the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to try it. If I can have these ends on here, then all the factory detail that's provided will then fit, and then I can have an axle here, and then the wheels will go on. If that doesn't work, I just got plan B, which is just a straight tube, and I can still glue the details on. It just doesn't have the end details like some of the, so this will kind of look a little better once it's pulled off. So there we go. There's the front axle tube now, which allows me to run a metal axle in there to hold the wheels on. And then in the wheels, I got to glue plastic in here and drill it out after. No big deal.
Oh, somebody on Facebook is asking about both the NASCAR and this one. Could this one be painted and finished?
Well, this one will be painted and finished. The NASCAR will too, as soon as I get my airbrush working, because that I got to kind of paint, the fenders a different color and everything. So that's kind of what I'm working on, is getting the airbrush set up so I can actually do those paint jobs. To a model, I will update it. That's something I've started that's already been on film. Nothing has gone away. It's all there. It's just some of it's waiting for paint. That big concrete cement mixer, I got to paint that too. That's coming up. Get some things done.
Very technical difficulty.
You want to? Oh. Sorry, sometimes I get into a zone where I'm looking at something that I've already done because I just want to see, just kind of, you work with your mind and how that's going to look and visualize it. So one of the things I want to do is, like, I glued the door handles on. I'm actually going to glue the taillights in, and then I'll pick them off with paint after. The reason I do that is so that they don't fall out, or you're not trying to glue them on a painted model, because that's always fun when that goes wrong. So I gotta figure, just gotta look at.
So it's like a slow down there.
Yeah, well, that could be on their end too.
It was on our end.
Oh, is it? Okay. So here's the rear end. I trimmed off the little parts of the axle bits fit onto.
I'll need your address, so if you can, email me. With it, I'll give you my address as well.
Okay.
All right. Cheers.
All right, let's see if I can drill this axle tube. I'll have to tube the thing.
Perfect.
No, okay. Thank you for that. Yeah, I'll send off. The problem with drilling some of these is the tube will want to come apart, and it might not be big enough. Trying to draw it a little bit funny here, so I can get it to go. Might actually go. So I'm doing is I'm drilling the rear axle so I can put a tube in it. One tube side is a success. Look at that. Side of that's a success. In and out here, clean up the. Okay. I'll have to see if I can drill it with the next size up so that the axle can turn in there. Oh, it's splitting. This is done. I'll just glue it back together. Looks like a success there. Let's do the other side. Put it up in the middle. That's not the middle. Try to drill it to go in the middle here. Hi to everyone that's watching. What do we got now? 11, 12, 9 watching. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, this could be as fun as watching paint. Try to make it interesting. Again, if there's more dialogue too from the audience, I can try to answer questions. So feel free to ask anything you'd like to ask. Hey, success. This might be successful. Let's see here. If not, I'm going to have to tube it, but that's okay. Try using the parts first. And that's a fail. Yeah, I'm going to have to just put a new tube in it. Just too thin. Not enough support. I mean, an axle will go through there. You can see, but there's also some, yeah. Could make that work if I wanted to, but the other thing I can do is just put a new tube in there. So
I'll cut a tube. Tube there, perfect. And then the length, just a little bit. Okay, so how I go ahead and do something like this is the axle kind of tapers down to about here. I'm just going to chop off that end. And then I will just chop off this end. Okay, I get the drill bit that I have for this. Difference in that. There it is. Oh, perfect. What's that? Well, this is an 1/8" drill bit. It's the same size as this tubing. I'll make sure that the hole is in the middle here. If I have to, I can use my hobby knife to just kind of help direct the bit in the right direction. The other side seems okay, so I'll just start drilling. You got to be very careful. Use your fingers, it'll want to walk on you. Actually, I'm going to use another tool to get started. This is a body reamer tool that you use for RC cars, for bodies. And it's fantastic for getting a hole bigger without tearing it up. So sometimes that's what you gotta do, just use that tool. Sand these flat on the differential so they're the same size. This is a nice skill to have if you're building a race car and you want a narrow or rear axle or something. You can easily just use the center point and then just put your own tube in there, whatever length you want. That's the beauty of doing this too. You can set it what side. If you're building a 4x4 and you want to make a front axle and you have another rear axle, you can whatever you like. So the beauty of it. Just lightly, gently till you get to this. It's very delicate at this point because there's such a thin section here you don't want to damage, because this tube is supposed to be smooth. It's like a 4 9-inch. So the tube slides. Another thing you could do is put one tube on one side, one on the other if you really want to. That's another way of doing it. If it really wants to pull, use my little vise here. It's off camera. Sorry about that. do it and then I'll show it to you. So here it is, the drill bit's all the way through that differential housing. See that? So now I can drill that through with my fingers. Okay. There we go.
How's the build going, Steve from KCC?
Oh,
He's back.
hi Steve, you're back. Build is going okay. So here we are. Now I slide this in here. The drill bit that I use basically friction fits that, no problem. And now I have to take an axle tube because you see how a differential is off center? Like, all right, so what happens is if you look here, your drive shaft comes in and there's a pinion gear, ring gear. This is where my real car knowledge comes in. You want the drive shaft actually centered in the car. So the differential housing actually gets offset just a little bit so that your drive shaft comes in the middle. So you can check that against the graph pattern on your board, or you can measure it against the old one. You can measure it against the old one if you like. So I'm just going to move my head out of the way. So you can get the axle where you want it, and then when you get it where you want it, you could even glue this to the leaf springs. You can get it in a car, and then you can set your pinion angle if you really want to get crazy, and then put your glue on there. So I'm just going to I'm going to do that. I'm going to leave this loose till I get the leaf springs on, and then I can get everything sort of correct. Just going to clean up here a little bit. So much filings. When I work, it's almost like whittling wood. There's all kinds of filings all over the place. So now our front axle, I think the front axle turned out. I'm very happy with it. So that now allows a steel axle to go through. And the rear end also now allows a steel axle to go through. So those two are success. I just have to do the wheels. Yeah. Okay, so now what I'm going to do before I paint this, I'm not going to glue the axles in because I need to paint them separate colors. But what I want to do is use the chassis as sort of a test place to install this stuff. And once that's done, then I can remove it and then paint them separate colors. So there's the rear springs. I'm not going to put the wheelie bars on the model. As I said, I'm building this more like a street strip car, so you're not going to drive on the street with wheelie bars, and I don't think this will have enough slick on it to do a wheelie anyway, or a big wheelie to need them. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Here's the okay, what else do I need off? For now, that's the rear. And I gotta look and see what they expect here on the instructions. So there's some holes that are designed in the chassis that you drill through. Of course, I should have done that first. So I get ahead of myself here. They're underneath the seat here, but that's okay. I'm actually going to just see that one ends up right on that pedestal. So if I drill from this side, let's get rid of this here. If I drill from this side right on the pedestal here, that will be that leaf spring hole there. Okay. All right. Just going to double check here. So that one would go there, just like that. Okay, we'll do the same on this one. Okay, and then we have one loose spring going over here. No problem. Okay. All right, then we can drill through here. It's the inner one. The inside out. Follow that. Okay. Now, that should allow these springs to fit in here. Now I just got to check which side is left, which side is right. Okay, so there's how the springs would sit. Okay. And then that's what that hole in the floor is for, but I'm gonna just shave these off so that I don't have to drill a hole there because of where it lines up with the seat. Any questions or comments, do feel free to ask, by the way. Just a reminder. Okay. Just going to trim these up. Perfect. Okay. Now, the leaf springs are the same scenario. Just got to dip into the instructions here. Do you know where I put the instructions there? So we'll look in here and see.
Have you decided on a body color yet?
Yeah, I have decided on a body color. It's actually going to go this sort of light green that's on the cap here. I did a slight spray out on this NASCAR body. I don't know if you can see the color here. It's just sort of like a light green. The color's on the 57 Chevy, my buddy's there that I did some work on, and I just happened to have that can lying around. It was driving me nuts what color to paint it. I was looking online and I was looking at different gassers and I was looking at that. So anyway, I just settled on this. Okay, rear suspension. The leaf springs go. Well, of course, they don't show you the detail on the. That's great. So what do they show under here? Here we go.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's a nice color.
Yeah, I think it'll look good on a gasser. It's not dark and dingy. It's bright, and it's a fun color. Yeah. So I got these leaf springs on the right way. They don't really show you in the instructions, but what happens is this little detail of the two bolts with that flange goes inward because they connect up with these Caltrac style ladder bars that go on there and then go to the floor. So that's not a big deal. So that's in the right way. So I just have to trim any imperfections on these springs from the tree. Okay. Once I get this part done. So 22 hours left. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for reminding me. Time really flies when you're doing this stuff.
No pressure.
Well, before you know it, I'll be painting. I gotta send Robert on a coffee run. I gotta do that, like Richard Rawlings and his beer time or whatever. It's beer o'clock, and then
It's coffee o'clock.
it's coffee, yeah, or something. Coke, something. Coca-Cola there. Get some of that upstairs, maybe. Okay. Some water here. Okay, so I'm going to just set the leaf springs in place here. Like to test fit everything, and then take the rear differential. Now, on a rear differential, if you don't know, if you've never done this before, where you've modified it like this and you don't know, because it comes with guide pins and tells you where to put everything, the pinion goes to the bottom like this. The drive shaft comes in, it doesn't go on the top. It's not a high pinion. Now, on some Jeeps, they'll do high pinion 4x4 suspension so that you get more ground clearance, but on a vehicle, your pinion comes in at the bottom. It keeps it. It's allows the gear to run in the oil and keeps everything lubricated. So that's why it's like that. So we got the pinion down at the bottom. I guess I was out of frame. So sorry. I'll explain that again. The pinion goes in at the bottom here. So that it lubricates. So we want that part to be down like this against the springs or wherever you're going to put it, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and get some glue here and get that glue on the...
Move down just a bit.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I got it. So I'm just gonna touch the bottom here where the axle goes, and now slide this in here, and then I'll lift it up here. Okay, and then by holding it in place like that, I can center it. Okay. Now I can add more glue here. And what that allows me to do now is I can slide this, get it exactly where I want it. So as you can see here, the drive shaft runs down the middle of the floor pan. I have even spacing of the axle tubes on each side of the leaf spring. I can let that dry in there now. I can still set my pinion angle because I didn't glue it. So the pinion angle is the angle of the pinion. And that will be the same as the angle of the transmission. Should be. The tail shaft. This does have these ladder bar style, like almost like a Caltrax. Does keeps the rear end from twisting under heavy acceleration. The old drag racing trick is you'd set your pinion low, so when the leaf springs twist, your drive shaft is in a straight line. So there's but anyway, in this case we can set our pinion angle where we want it. In this, it's probably almost level. Pretty much have the correct pinion angle on it now. So if I'm happy with that, I can then set that. Also, this glue dries pretty quick, so as you can see, I now can take this suspension assembly out and handle it and paint it separate. So what I'm going to do is just let it sit in there just a little bit longer. A little more glue on it there. Just help get it better. Like basically it's a weld joint when you use this stuff. And you can set it back in the body floor pan. Okay, let that sit and dry in the right spot. And I'm going to get a little bit of, I'm going to slide the pinion over just a tiny bit. I think we're good there. Okay, I'm going to set that back into place. Let that dry. Now that I know the differential is exactly where I want it, I'm going to glue those two sides. And that's now set the pinion angle. Now I can take a couple of clamps as well and put it on the tubes. And if they stay, no, it's good enough. I'll just put a little bit of pressure from the clamp on the other side just to make sure it's in there. And then let that sit. If I let that sit and dry with all the points in the right location, then that's gonna dry straight. Now I can work on the front, and then I'll go back to adding these after, because I'm not fiddling with it and putting it out of place. Okay. In fact, those I might even paint a different color and put on just to make it interesting. So see how it goes. Okay, now we need the front leaf springs, which are here. I'm just gonna clip them off. Then I can set a spring here. Now I'm not gluing these in yet because again I'm going to paint these a different color. But the spring will be the same color as the axle. There's a pin that goes to the front. Pin that goes on there, and then axle tube there. So by test fitting, I can see the pin is a little long, but that's okay. It's the same on both sides, so we'll live with that for now. We'll take our front axle piece here and glue it right onto the springs. Okay. What I'm going to do is just take a file, just give it a little bit of a half round profile for the tube to sit into. Used to have two little pins. So that's just a little bit of a indentation. Also helped the way it was built to sit because the tube was a little smaller. So this will raise up the front end if I didn't do this. Okay. No. Why the noise? Soda. Oh, it's refreshing. Now that that's in place, I can take this here and put some glue. Everything's good there. Now, one of the things about a car, you have a little bit of caster, so you want to glue it where you have, let's say, a few degrees of positive caster, so you don't want to glue it in at the wrong angle. Some more glue here. Like that. We got the right caster on there. We want it to be center. So we want to make sure that when it fits in the body, that our wheels are going to fit exactly the same on both sides. So everything looks right when it's together. Okay. There you go. And then again, this can now lift off in one piece, and we can paint it separate. Also, there's the steering linkage that can go on. Very, very fine linkage here.
Your voice is very quiet all of a sudden. Did the mic battery die?
You know what? I'm not running a mic. Is that better? I might have just been talking a little. I was just kind of got into where I'm almost mumbling to myself about what I'm doing here. So thanks for letting me know. And then these go on the bottom there. Your steering link.
Better.
Okay, so there you go. Steering link is there. Just like that. So we're gonna install that. What I like about it, you can test fit the piece if you like it. You can just take this glue and just dab it on and it's done. You don't have to go back and take it off again. If you like where it is.
Oh,
In shot, yeah. No, I know. Just getting that lining up here. So the steering linkage is on. And then this has a cross steer piece, which is the wrong length, possibly. I don't know. I haven't built this model to find out, so we'll find that out right now.
Steve, Dad and I also talk to ourselves when we go.
Yes, it's something I do quite often, talking to myself when I'm doing something. So I figured, why don't I just put it on camera and have a YouTube channel? That's my... When I was a kid, like my son's age, or maybe a little older, I used to we had cassette tapes, right? And I would pretend I was like a radio DJ. That's probably too much information. Anyway, so this is a cross steer. So maybe somebody thought it might have been going the other way. Maybe they thought it was like a side steer, I don't know, but it goes across like this and it seems to be okay. The length, it's a little bit where it doesn't want to fit on without a little bit of tension, but it's okay there. So what I'm going to do, that's on there, that's the side steer link. I'm going to just glue it onto this side. So I don't know, I didn't have a drag link length issue. If you thought it was a side steer and tried to put it from the steering box to this one, that could be a problem. I'm not going to glue this joint because I want it to come off with the suspension, get painted with the suspension, and then it goes on, but it'll sit there and do what it has to do. Well, so far I have to say the kit is pretty good. I'm impressed, but not overly impressed. But it's not a problem, that's for sure. Wheels will fit there, good. Okay. One of the things I want to talk about, Mobius wheels. People talk about the tires. So here's the thing. Take your Mobius wheels, and you still know how they have all those tabs on them. Take your tool and just snip off all those tabs so that they're not completely gone, but they're just there. So this is a Mobius slick here. You want to install the tire this way so when you put it on, you don't get all those lines on the side of the tire that you see, right? There's enough there. That tire's not coming off. Like it's not going anywhere, okay? But also I want to show you what happens. This is a Mobius tire. This is an AMT, sort of a semi-solid slick. It has pad printing on it. Guess what? Look at that. Fits the rim Bingo bango. There you go. You got yourself a different tire on the model. It's got the pad printing on it. Just makes it look nice. I mean, that's right. Even the front tire, same thing. Just knock all those tabs off. I did that on the old 51 Hudson Hornet kit, the F-150 kits. It just makes it so you can work with the tires, and yeah, it works fine. So that's a little trick. Instead of trying to worry about getting the lines on the tires or trying to get those off after, just knock those tabs off. The tires aren't going to fall off your model. I mean, especially the way the pins are set up from factory there. You know, your tires aren't going to come off. I mean, you're going to have your wheels break off the model before the tires will. So there you go. So we're all ready for paint on that. So body is, I want to glue these taillights in. That's ready for paint. Door handles are on. I still got to finish trimming up this side a little bit. So I'll get into that. I'm going to start doing the engine. And let me show you something on the engine, and then probably we could end the live, I guess. It's not. But let me show you what I do on these engines here. If you guys are having fun, let me know. If you want me to keep going for a bit on the live, I have no problem with it. So just comment, let me know what you think. So I take the engine block after it's glued together and I flat sand all these surfaces, like the oil pan surface, the lifter valley surface, so that it's all nice and smooth and you get no hang-ups. So when you're gluing everything together, everything fits. I even take the cylinder head surfaces and I'll sand them just to give them a little bit of a scuff, because also your heads glue on better, all that kind of stuff. And it's almost like taking your block to a machine shop. You just want it all nice and smooth, all your surfaces.
I always
Nice and
enjoy
flat.
watching you build. Lots of info and ideas.
Okay. Oh, thanks, Steve. So, like to get it till it's all smooth. Now on the back of this block, I would normally flat sand it, but it looks like they have a tab here for the transmission. So let's see what that's all about. That kind of fits in there. Yeah, that won't hurt nothing. So that'll fit together quite nicely. There we go. So I think on this model, I'm going to glue the tranny together. I'm going to paint it all at once. I'm going to use I'm not going to go with Chevy orange. I don't think. I'm just going to go cast color, maybe aluminum heads, things like that. It is a race car, so you can do anything you want. It's the beauty of it. So, okay, so tranny's glued together, engine's glued together. Now I'm gonna put these two together. Again, test fit everything. Now you see on the transmission, I have a little bit of a joint line there that once you get it together, you won't be able to get off. So let me just flat sand this bell housing. Yeah. Just gonna flat sand the bell housing here so that it looks like one piece of plastic. These are all little tricks to doing a contest winner, actually, because you don't want to see any seam lines or. So I practice on everything I build, because then it just becomes very normal, easy to do. So see how nice that line is? So you're not going to see that with paint. So glue this now. You can also apply glue on the other side. That helps when you put it together. Both sides are already soft, so it welds itself together there. And I just take the glue and add a little bit, smooth it out. Make sure there's nothing going on there. transmission went together really nice. There's hardly any line. You can just pick it off with your knife just by dragging it across. Like, look at that. It just turned out really good. That's good fitment, that's for sure. Now you should be able to test fit the block in the car, because one, I want to test fit the block in the car to make sure I can actually put it in after it's built and see how it sits in there. You can see everything fits okay. All right. Pinion angle, I might have to drop it a little bit. Oh, we're good, we're good. Okay. Now you can actually take the drive shaft and see if it fits. Okay. Let's knock out this drive shaft here and see if that fits. You don't even have to glue your drive shaft in. A lot of times you can just let it sit in there. Just have to make sure that everything, take a drill bit. I need a smaller one. Let's use this guy. Just kind of make sure that everything is cleaned out. And that allows you to make sure the drive shaft fits in there. It does. Okay. So you can see how you can test fit everything before you paint it. See how much it almost looks like a complete car. When you take it, just like building a real car, you actually put everything together first before you paint it, and then you take it all apart and paint it. So you see, drive shaft fits in there good, rear end fits, engine fits, front suspension fits. I mean, if I had the wheels drilled, I could have those on. You could fit the body on. I mean, almost all the major components of this car are together. Now I just got to finish building that engine. One note I'm going to have to say is that the headers will have to be built and assembled after. Like, they can be assembled, painted, and then they have to be installed after the engine's in the car, because of these bars here. You wouldn't be able to work it in there. So that's okay. That's all good. Sometimes I'll sit back and look at the model for a little bit just to see what else is up. Obviously I can't waste too much time doing that. So we know the drive shaft is good. Drive shaft's ready for paint. If I sand the lines off, we're ready to go with that component, and it doesn't have to be touched again. That's good. So there you go. Drive shaft done. Interior panels. Let's see. Tail lights. Did we trim this? No, I didn't trim that yet. Do that again. Okay, that's all trimmed up. So you see what I did here, if you just kind of tuned in, or I took those two little bars that go off the grill and come out. This is sort of, on the real car, you don't really have that. So the grill will fit in there just fine. Lots of stuff to glue to. And to me, it looks cleaner than having those painted pieces going in behind the grill. So that's the whole idea there. Just clean that up. There's the grill. So you don't need those two bars that go across, in my mind. Okay. I'll do tail lights now and get that on the body, I think. And the engine block, I got stuff to do there. Let's work on that anyway. So what I'm going to do here with the block, so you calm. Okay. Here's the cylinder heads. Here's the blower. Well, sorry, not the blower. This is the intake manifold that the blower sits on. Just going to trim that up. Now, a lot of cars you might want to just glue all of this together because it's all going, let's say, Chevy orange, right? But in this case, I want the heads to be aluminum. I want the blower hat, the intake manifold to be aluminum. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these 3 pieces together, but not onto the engine so that they fit good. And I can remove it in one piece, spray paint the bottom. And next thing you know, it's all good to go. So I'm just going to work on cleaning up the end of the cylinder heads here. That's where they were attached to the tree. Just give that a little bit of a cleanup. Okay. All right. Just going to put that in there. Well, I'll just do one at a time. So I'll just take the glue here. Instead of gluing it to the block, I'm just going to try and glue it just to the cylinder head and intake there. Okay. And then you can remove this. Okay. You can remove this whole thing as an assembly here. Didn't get glue running in there already, which I did. Okay. Just do the same on this side. Just like that. Aha! I found a Mobius mistake. A double M. So on an engine, because it's in V formation, the cylinder heads are offset from one another, one of them being further ahead than the other. And they didn't do that on the model. They're like straight across from each other. Look at that. You can almost, with a ruler. Oh, that's driving. I'm gonna have to fix that. Okay, so scratch that idea. So I'm gonna have to cut these tabs off the cylinder heads. Maybe what I'll have to do is glue them to the engine. I'm going to have to just paint that off separate. That's not a big deal. Okay, let's take these. Okay, so number 1 cylinders on the driver's side on a small block Chevy. And that head sits a little bit further ahead than the passenger side. So I can easily make that correction. But I'm going to have to glue everything to the, I'll glue everything to the engine. So there we go. I might have to fill in that hole. Ugh. Okay, well let's do this one first. Let's put this cylinder head on. I know this will probably screw up my headers, but that's okay. The headers look like they clear a lot of stuff. So on this side, on the driver's side, we want to move the cylinder head so it's right flat with the front of the block and you have space on the back here. And if you ever look at a small block Chevy, this is where your casting number is. Then, this is going to drive me nuts. I got to fill that in. How am I going to do this here? Let's see how far back that is. Oh, I can get away with it. You won't see it. Okay, that's fine. So we'll just glue this side on too now. Okay, on the passenger side, you want to bring it back, not quite to the edge of the bell housing. And that offsets the cylinder heads. You see that? How this one here is further forward on the driver's side than the right-hand side. This side has your casting number for your small block Chevy. This side here on the flat surface, that's where they have the number that's stamped to like serial number or date code or anything like that. That's stamped in. Then you put the intake manifold on. And what I'm going to do is just knock off these tabs.
Oh no, Roy's getting picky about the details. I love how that bugs you so much. You gotta fix it.
It does. It bugs me. Okay, then we can put our intake on.
Detail man.
Who was it?
Steve.
Steve, yeah.
And gotta is
See, the problem is I know, like I actually know. And Mobius has driven me absolutely crazy. I could do a whole video on how. It's almost like in the old days, they would actually take an engine block. AMT models would take a Chevy engine and they would actually use like a pantograph or whatever they call it. They would actually they would drop it down to 8 scale. Then from 8 scale, they would drop it down again and stuff like that. You had very accurate engines. Now they got somebody in front of a computer who's probably never seen an engine in real life. And they're just like, here you go. You got to make a small block Chevy. And they're like, oh, okay, where's a picture? And they're just like, oh, I can make it look like that. No idea of actually what the internals look like or how they work or how why the one cylinder head is further back than the other. But anyway, that's my rant for the day. They should hire me. Then they'd have very accurate models. Very accurate models.
And then never come up with
Probably. Yeah. It's like this guy I know, he came to the model club and he had a test shot of the 67 to 72 Ford, right? And they came out. So the first time they came out, he had a test shot. He was in Red Deer and he brought this test shot up to the model and he showed it all. And he was so proud because he had a real truck. He overlooked all the mistakes, like the fact the hood doesn't fit. And they can hopefully correct them. But anyway, that didn't happen. So send me test shots. I'll tell you what's wrong. Okay. So now I got the cylinder heads in the right spot. And that makes me a little happier. Absolutely. So I'll just paint stuff separate. I can paint it all one color and then just pick it off. In fact, I might paint the whole thing aluminum and then I'll just pick off the transmission and certain things that are cast. That's what I'll do. Yeah. So we got the blower here. It's good. It's got the ends on it here, which I think I'm also going to lose the fuel injection or whatever this is. I'm going to put 2 carburetors on here. I'm a carburetor guy. In real life, I'm a carburetor guy. I mean, fuel injection does make more horsepower, don't get me wrong. Yeah, but I shouldn't say it does. That's a bad statement. Carburation engines can make as much power as fuel injection. But fuel injection is like self-tuning and more, it's easier to make the power without knowing anything, right? You just have to drive it and it'll measure all the different atmospheric pressures and give you the best power it can give you at that moment, right? That's where with carburation, it's, if you're traveling around from racetrack to racetrack, or if you're running a monster truck, carburation isn't that good because the floats, you're doing a lot of bouncing. And so there's a lot of motorsports and stuff where fuel injection is a good thing. I'm not against fuel injection. I'm just against fuel injection for myself because I don't like it. But that's my opinion. So, why did they put that on the bottom there? Okay, that blower should actually be going this way. Why is it square on the top? See, there's a problem right there. I can't believe they did that. So on a blower, it always comes out this side of the. They got it backwards. Let's see. I have to go to another kit to get parts. I do. Wow. Okay, so these plates are supposed to follow the shape of the blower, and they want you to put the base side up. Like, see, there's a little tab here and a tab. This is where test shots really come in, guys. Like, put the input, send me the test shots, please. Here's the square corners. They're supposed to be at the bottom. See how the rounded corners are at the top? That actually has to go that way on the blower, which is not a big deal to glue it on. But when it comes to the front here, this side, this snout is supposed to be on this side. So when I flip this around, it's now on the wrong side. Like, give me a break. Oh, now I got more stuff to get fussy about. Okay, well, I know this one goes on the back, so let's start with that. If you don't believe me, here, you can even see it in the instructions. They even show it in the computer generated model that the curve is at the bottom. It's wrong. I'm sure it's wrong, unless I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know. So now do I glue them both on wrong to match, or do I just live with the mistake? I can't live with that mistake. Oh, okay. Okay. Let's put this one on correctly anyway. This hobby's supposed to be fun. We just have fun. Don't get too stressed out about it. It's all good. It's all good. All right. Here we go. Very nice. Now this is going to bug me, guys. This is going to bug me. Whoever's watching, all 10 of you, this is going to bug me. How can I correct that? If I glue that on backwards, I can cut the snout off and re-glue it on the other side, I guess. Or I glue it on upside down and let it bug me forever. If I glue it on upside, oh, that's what everybody's telling me to do. Glue it on upside down.
I say that, and then it can bug you.
Oh, guys, please, and girls, whoever. Okay, I got a solution. I'm gonna glue it on upside down, like they say, and then I'm just gonna round off the corners of the file, and then we're both happy, right? We're both happy. How did they get that wrong? Mobius, please. Wow. Okay, well, we'll let that dry. Let that dry. These chrome parts are like really hard to, even though I stripped the chrome off, they have that still that coating that's on there. The glue has to get through that coating to be able to stick to plastic. But it will. It will. Drives me nuts. It's driving me nuts they got that wrong. How did they get that wrong?
Can I continue right? It's getting pretty good.
Okay, well. I'm just going to set that on the engine so that I can make sure it's aligned right and then let that dry. All right, there you go, big blower. Let's look at this. Is probably how these blowers, I'll give you a little history lesson. They used to come, well, they still do, but they're two-stroke diesel Detroit engines. The 12V71, 8V71, 671. These are numbers where the 71 is the cubic inches of the each cylinder, and there's 6 of them. So 6 times 71, that's the cubic inch. 12 times 71 or 10, you know, that's how the engines were built. These blowers on the top, if you hear what they call 871 or a 671 blower, that was the size of blower that actually came on those diesel engines. If it was a 671, you had a 671 blower on. If it was 871, it was a bigger one. So this, it looks like an 871 Detroit blower. That's where it basically came from. That's how the superchargers came to be. The old race cars, they would take blowers off these diesels and build intake manifolds and run them, and that's how the blower came to be. So this looks like an 871. If you look at it, it's basically almost as big as the engine block. It is crazy big. On a big block, they look more suited, but on a small block, they just look absolutely insane. Anyway, that's probably an 871 blower. And they got it wrong. But that's okay. That's okay. You get a little bit of history and knowledge here with this. But. Okay, well that's, at least I got the cylinder heads on there, right? That makes me happy. I can do the other engine parts. This is the timing cover and water pump detail.
Oh, I did not know about the blowers.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah, so if you hear that, an 871 blower or 671, that's what that means. You can thank diesel engines for that. Okay, we can put this on because that's okay. We can put this on. The oil pan, I'm going to have to figure out. So I was brought to my attention that this is a stock oil pan, by the way, so you wouldn't put this on a blower engine. You'd want something with a little more oil capacity. Here we go. I'm just going to trim it here. Trim these pins off because they're meaningless if I got to turn it around. So the instructions want you to put it on this way. It's actually wrong. It should go this way. The only problem is your dipstick. This has got the dipstick relief, which is supposed to be lining up with the dipstick here. So there's so many things wrong with this oil pan that I might just have to go into my parts box and put a different oil pan on. Yeah, that's going to happen. That's definitely going to happen. Let me see if I got a big sump oil pan. Oh, it's a box of race car goodies here. Let's see what we got. All kinds of resin goodies here. Hey, hoods for a Vega. I didn't know I had those. Very cool. Valve covers. It's got to be an oil pan section here. Full on race engine. They make a lot of these cool custom model parts, but it's always stuff you see. Like the oil pan is like the last thing they build.
Oh yes, the good stuff.
Oh, look at that! Look at that distributor. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, that's tempting, but too much work. Hey Steve, you want more wheels? Want me to send you some more of these? I got tons of them. Look, I got tons of them. Look at that. It's just never ending. Carburetors. Oh gosh. This is why I could never build box stock. Oh, I'd run into problems. Gotta find like the perfect kit. What's that?
Like it wasn't the perfect kit.
No, I have never come across a perfect. Oh, look how beautiful these valve covers are. Wow, those are apps here. I've got to show you. These are beautiful. Look at that. It says Chevrolet on there. I don't know if you can see them, but you got the little Chevy emblem. Great stuff. No oil pans though. Well, I guess. Oh, and kits always come with big blocks, so they never. It's hard to find a small block oil pan. Okay, well, I'm gonna look for stuff, and so far you've seen me build the chassis, and this can all come apart and be painted. See that? It all just comes apart and gets painted. No big deal. Front end, the rear end, you've seen me make it from regular, the way the wheels go on, to putting a steel axle through the front as well as the back. It's just this axle has something on it that's grabbing stuff. You get another one here, so you can see I made it like that there in the front there, also for the back. There we go. Maybe what I'll do before I leave, what I'll do is I'll show you how I do the wheels. So that might be a question. Okay, you got the axles going through the other part of the car. Now, what are you going to do about attaching the axle and the wheel here, right? That's no problem. No, I'm not worried about that. I'm showing the wheels here. Okay, so I've studied this a little bit off camera. I didn't do any pre-work, but what I wanted to do was it comes with these little collars. And I'm going to glue them in, and then I'm going to glue a part in the middle, like a piece of sprue or something that fits in that hole. I got to start gluing these so they can dry. So these collars fit in here, and I'll glue something in the middle. Now sometimes you can use a piece of sprue here, and when all that's done, you take a drill and you drill it out. In fact, you want to pass me that Willie's for a sec? Yeah. So this is another set of wheels I've done very similar. So if you see, and what I like about doing this, guys, if you make it metal axle, you can change up your wheels quite easy. Revell, AMT, Mobius, whatever you want to use Mobius wheels on an AMT, no big deal. You just put them on. So what I've done here is I've used a drill this size here, which is the same size as the metal axle I buy, which is 0.62 or 1/16th. And you can drill your wheel. When I drill it, you see how nice and straight that is. And then your axle fits in there, right? And then that will then go into your model car, and you have a metal axle on your car. Okay, that's how I do it. So I'm gonna have to glue these collars in, because I have to glue these collars and first let them sit And then once they're sort of semi-dry, I can then put in a solid piece in the middle, and then I can take my drill and drill it out, and then the axle will fit in there. So that's how I'm going to make these wheels fit. Also, I'm not going to forget about the backing plates. Those backing plates will go on, and the detail will be on the model. And also the disc brakes on the front. This model comes with a set of disc brakes. I'm going to glue them on as well, and so you'll see them through the wheel, and everything will be good to go that way. So I think I'm going to wrap up this live here now. I'm going to be able to get a few things done here, and I'm going to do another sort of short film where I'm at progress, so there's the video afterwards. And I'll do another live during this build if you like. That's no problem. Looking forward to it. Maybe later tonight, and then maybe one tomorrow, or just one tomorrow. See how it goes. Yeah, probably later tonight. And we'll see how it goes. We have some paint on and things like that. So as always, have yourself a great day. Thanks for watching. I really enjoyed today, and I'll keep going on this build, and we'll see you in a few hours. Thank you. How do I shut this off? There we go.